Hey guys, if you don't already know, my name is Joe and I am the California correspondent who's a little far away from home. I got the call from Chase and had the amazing opportunity to come out here to the Philippines and ride the brand new CFMOTO Ibex 450. Now, if this wasn't enough, we got to go all over the island the last couple days. We've been to the big lagoons, we rented a boat. I mean, this has truly been a work trip in the loosest sense of the word. A little bit about the bike. I'm still kind of reeling a little bit. It's kind of tough to think about what I'm going to say here. But I think at the end of the day, I'm a little bit surprised by who this bike was actually intended for. I think we had kind of this preconceived notion going in that this is a great beginner bike. And yes, like the seat height makes it very beginner friendly, but it's a lightweight bike that you can have a ton of fun on, whether or not you're a beginner rider or an intermediate rider or even up to the advanced pace. Now, I think I've said this a few times, this is a really good bike that with a few tweaks could be great. So I want to talk about the good first, and starting at the front, the suspension I thought was pretty great.
So I noticed something interesting on this last ride down here, and that was that the suspension is actually set up really nicely once you pick up the pace. I was kind of surprised to find out that as rough as it is for the smaller bumps and stuff, it did a really great job once I picked up the pace. So I personally like that. I'm kind of surprised from a perspective of setting this up for easier riders. It's like, yeah, you start picking up the pace like this, and it's so happy. Like, it soaks up all the little stuff. The big stuff doesn't bottom out. I don't feel like the suspension is harsh. It's just happy to pick the pace up and like slide the rear around, and it's a pretty predictable bike.
It comes standard with these tires that are not too dissimilar from the Pirelli Scorpion Rally STRs, if you want a bigger mouthful than that. And they did a really great job until we really got into a lot of deep, silty sand, kind of like you see on the beach here. Zero complaints, and I think it just does a great job showcasing how good this chassis is.
A lot of off-camber hills through here, but yeah, the bike's doing great. I really like this chassis. It feels really competent, especially changing directions off-road, and it's pretty confidence inspiring, I gotta say.
Moving back from there, I thought the gauges were super clear, easy to read, and all in all, like, this is a really nice cockpit to be in. I think they absolutely nailed the looks. I mean, the blue, the white, with the crash bars upper and lower, I think this is a really smart looking bike, and despite people's preconceived notions about Chinese motorcycles, like, it looks good. I'm pretty stoked about it. Other things I want to address are the seat height. Now, all we've heard coming into this launch was just how low this motorcycle can get. And I believe it goes all the way down to 31.5 inches. If that's incorrect, I will put it right here, what the actual height is. And I decided to ride the bike with the tallest seat option in the high position, with the suspension in the high position, and I could still flat foot it. Now, I'm 5'11", I have a 32-inch inseam. I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but I'm certainly not the smallest, and I actually wish I could have had a little bit taller of a seat. I think if there is a rally seat or anything like that to come in the future, it's really gonna give you a lot more comfort if you're a taller guy or gal between your knee and your feet and just really spreading yourself out on the bike. Other than that, ergonomically, I absolutely love this thing. I thought the standing position was fantastic. When we were off-road, it made it really easy to grip the tank because that seat is nice and squishy. And on-road, it was just a really commanding presence.
In terms of standing ergos, they're pretty good. Some people, like myself, I prefer a little bit lower of a bar off-road, so this actually feels a little nice. At 5'11", if you're a little bit taller than I am, you will probably want to go with a slightly taller bar option or a riser that's going to be aftermarket.
I can't stress this enough. Despite how lightweight this bike is, what I really was surprised by is how substantial it feels. And I say that as in, it doesn't feel as heavy or as top heavy as something like a T7, and especially not like a Desert X that I happen to own. But I gotta say, like, calling this just a beginner bike is doing it a disservice. I think this is really a great lightweight adventure platform, and one that I'm excited to see how CFMOTO develops over the years.
Wow, the riding is pretty cool here, I'm not gonna lie. CFMOTO did a great job picking this location for the launch. It was a pain in the ass getting here, but I have to say, well worth it for some pretty unique riding.
In terms of my favorites, top 3 things, number 1 is that beautiful 450cc engine. Having a bike this small with a parallel twin, a lot of times with like Kawasaki's or a lot of these other bikes that have a standard crank that we're so used to, like there's not a lot of soul. You crack open the throttle on something like a Ninja 400 and yeah, it goes and it gets up quick enough, but you don't feel that rumble in your gut. This sounds like a 1200 twin from Triumph, and sure, maybe it's not even a millimeter faster or an ounce faster or whatever incorrect unit of measurement I'm trying to throw out there, but at the end of the day, this makes you feel so good every time you crack the throttle. The gear spacing is fantastic for on and off road, and all in all, what a peach of an engine.
I'm really enjoying the power delivery on this bike too. You get that throaty big twin sound in such a compact package that isn't just going to blow your tire off. It's really, really great how easy it is to build that power. I wish it was smoother off the bottom, but it's so confidence inspiring to not have to worry and be so sensitive on the throttle. And I think it's a really great bike that'll help a lot of newer riders learn that throttle control off road. But I just really wish it was smoother on that like first 5% of throttle application, because that is where it absolutely misses the mark. And I think that's going to punish a lot of newer riders or less confident riders that have gravitated toward such a lightweight platform like this. And yes, I know that I say lightweight and this thing weighs 400 and something pounds, but it's all relative. My old GS weighed 600 pounds, and I can tell you this is much nicer to be on in this kind of, especially in new terrain.
Other favorite things, the looks. I mean, how can you not love this blue on white? This thing looks fantastic. Sure, I wish instead of the plastic handguards we had something a little bit more sturdy, but I have to say, I did find out twice how easy this bike is to pick up, and the handguards had no problems whatsoever. So sure, it's something you replace down the road, but visually, I mean, CFMOTO knocked this thing out of the park. Third favorite thing has to be just the versatility of this bike. I mean, to have an 1821 wheel set, it's so ready for off-road. To have them be tubeless as well, if you're not used to an off-road background and running tubes and don't want to be able to repair those on trips or on the side of the road, this is just a great setup. This is not only a bike that you can take off-road, it's a bike you can take anywhere. I know it's really hard to say bad things about this motorcycle, but like I said, if they can dial in that front brake, the fueling off the bottom, and maybe a little bit more feel from the clutch, I think they've got a winner on their hands. And especially for the price, $6,500, it just doesn't come close. I mean, the next cheapest thing you've got that's remotely comparable to this is a Tenere, and that's gonna be a much taller bike. It's gonna be heavier, it's got a higher center of gravity. If you want something that's easy to hop on and go off-road, this is, I think, hard to beat, especially for the price. Now, all that being said, I'm gonna go into a lot more detail and super nitty-gritty stuff. If you wanna check that out, make sure you head on over to the Common Tread blog over on Revzilla.com. I'll have a full write-up and really deep dive into the suspension, the handling, the chassis, every little detail that makes this bike what it is. Now, I do have to come clean about something. As you guys may or may not know by the shirt or by seeing me in every sponsored ad you've ever seen on the internet, I do work for Quad Lock. And as tempting as it was to make this an entire Quad Lock commercial and just bomb it throughout the video, I really wanted to focus on the story. So that being said, it would really mean a lot to me if you would support Quad Lock, and if you're interested in buying our phone cases or products, to go check it out at quadlockcase.net. I will have a link specifically for what I think the best setup for the Ibex 450 is, and at the end of the day, I have an amazing job and it allows me to come do stuff like this. So you supporting Chase and supporting me means more content like this. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't make you too jealous with all the amazing beach stuff we've gotten to do here at El Nido. And until next time, ride safe.